So, I broke my leg. Now don't worry, this isn't going to be a graphic video. I will share some of my x-rays, but for your sake, I'll leave out all the gory details. So this will be a brief recap of the accident, what happened, my recovery process so far, and of course, because this is a fitness channel, I'll be detailing what my training is looking like as well. So last month, I spent a week skiing out in Park City, Utah with a bunch of friends. It was our fourth trip out west, coordinated by my buddy Pat, who is a great skier in his own right, and we had an amazing time. The weather was great. We spent all week cruising the blues, we hit a few black diamonds, hung out in the city, dipped in the hot spring crater, and made some new friends. All that to say, it was a really fun trip, and I even got to train with Ann Stevens and Dan John in the days before the trip when I was staying in Salt Lake City. So in the early afternoon of the last day on the slopes, we were skiing a mogul run that ran underneath the ski lift line. And I came off a mogul that I thought was going to put me in a groove that took me in a left-hand turn around one of the ski lift poles. But it didn't. So I came off one of the moguls and it shot me more straight towards the pole. So I didn't have much time and I didn't have much space, but I went to make that left-hand turn. And when I did, my right ski got caught on the pole and then my shin made impact. It didn't really hurt, but when I tried to stand up, my leg basically just gave out. So I knew something was wrong, but I just thought it was maybe a sprained ankle. But in any case, it was obviously serious enough to the point where my buddy Pat went down to get ski patrol, and my buddy Matt stayed with me to feed me whiskey, but otherwise made sure that my head was on straight. So in no time flat, Wild Bill and Mac from Ski Patrol showed up and they loaded me in the rescue toboggan and they shimmied me down the run, which probably took close to 30 minutes because I was really close to the top, and as you can imagine, the terrain was pretty treacherous.
Bye, Zach. We believe in you.
So made it down to the mountain clinic, and I still didn't really feel any pain in the leg. I guess just assuming because the boot was supporting my leg. But when the nurses took that boot off, I got a zinger that let me know it was more serious than a sprained ankle. And crawling around on the x-ray table was definitely not fun. The doc came back with the x-rays and the bad news. I had completely broken my tibia and fibula and would need stabilization surgery ASAP. My buddies drove me to the hospital, and within an hour, I was being put under for surgery. When I came to, I pulled the sheet back and found this ridiculous exoskeleton affixed to my right leg. And, again, thankfully, the pain was minimal, but I did have to spend the night in the hospital. And thus, in one fell swoop, I broke my first bones, had my first admittance to a hospital, and had my first real surgery. The doctors and the nurses were amazing. They made it as an enjoyable an experience as they could have. But the best part is that they really hustled to get me discharged in the morning. Pat got me to the airport, and nobody missed their flight home. A full week later, once the swelling had gone down, I went in for the full surgery in Nashville, where they put in 2 plates and about a dozen screws. Fast forward to today, I'm about 3 weeks post-op and feeling better every day. I still have probably at least another 2 months before I can put any weight on the leg, so I'm prioritizing rest and relaxation, but as you can imagine, this hasn't stopped me from getting my training in. So let's take a look at some things that I'm doing in these at-home workouts and we'll wrap up with some life lessons. I'm starting off with 100 reps of band pull-aparts, dislocates, and circles. Not only are these a great warm-up for the upper body, but they also loosen up the T-spine and the shoulders, which for me get really stiff with all the hours resting on the couch. Moving on to basic loaded carries. Obviously I can't walk, but since the scooter is my main method of transportation, I'm simply holding a heavy kettlebell, I think that's about 40 pounds, in the suitcase position, the rack position, and the overhead position, and I'm just scooting back and forth across the room, again, just to acclimate the body to external load. Next, I've been using a hand gripper to practice bracing and tightness without the need for actually lifting any extra weight. You can get a great training stimulus by working the grip in various arm and shoulder positions. So here I'm clicking the gripper and I'm extending my arm up, out, down, and back just to cover all those bases and patterns of movement. Using the pec stick is another easy way to work the muscles with high tension without having to use traditional weights. There are dozens of variations you can do, but here I'm just doing higher rep stick closes to continue the warm up with the upper body and to prep for kettlebell presses. And here with the seated press, I'm doing a quick descending ladder of 5 reps each, then 3 reps each, then a single, right? And so that's one complete set of presses. I'll superset those presses with a pull. So usually that's a 1-arm row with that same kettlebell or pull-ups. And I'll do those for 8 to 12 reps for 3 to 5 total supersets. From there, I'll wrap up with dead bugs, planks, and other hip and back stretches as needed. I have an idea that maybe I'll make a video of like a comprehensive list of exercises that you can do with a broken leg that I think will be fun, so stay tuned for that. So with that, here are 3 what you might call life lessons that I've been reminded of in these times. Number 1, remind yourself to be grateful for health, for function, for friends, for family. It's all so important. And if you're a fitness enthusiast, you know, as you probably are watching this channel, it can be easy to take your strength and your physicality and your function for granted. So what I would encourage you to do is, you know, the next time you're working out, take some time to really stay in the present moment and really almost actively meditate on how amazing the human body is. And if you want a little hack, I can tell you years ago, I kind of made this mindfulness breakthrough in my training by actually listening to Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, on audiobook as I was training. So if you want to do a little experiment, I might encourage you to try that. But whatever, you know, your mindfulness practice may include, you really want to incorporate that into your training. And you know what? It's probably going to make your workouts a little bit maybe more enjoyable if you consider training a chore. But if nothing else, you know, training is a celebration of what we can do with our bodies and with our minds. So I would encourage you to take that attitude into your training from now on. Number 2, work on your balance, work on your foot strength, your toe mobility, your ankle mobility, stretch your calves, work your deep squats, work your single leg deadlifts. Man, you just do not know when those patterns and that balance and that strength will come in handy. And it's just so ironic that I made that huge video and article on single leg deadlift variations the week before the ski trip. So if you're looking for a place to start, I would point you there. But yeah, do not neglect your single leg training. As a pain in the butt as it is to get around on crutches and on the scooter, hobbling from place to place, I can tell you it's really not presented me with any issues, with any problems. And I owe that wholly to the style of my training, which includes a lot of balance. So if you haven't done so already, please do consider single leg training, asymmetrical training with various combinations of arms and legs, your core work. All of this stuff comes together and will make you a more resilient person. And again, you just never know when you might have to call upon some of these physical skills. Lastly, if you do find yourself saddled with an injury or any other challenge that is, keeping you from your regular training, I would encourage you to stay as active physically and mentally as possible. Yes, absolutely prioritize rest, prioritize your recovery, but don't dismiss the importance of daily engagement, right? So you don't have to do some of the crazy things that I'm doing, like for workouts. You can do very simple exercises, very simple stretches, and even outside of the traditional workout environment, you can do mentally engaging things like write a letter to a friend, or read a good book actively, take notes. Be sure to keep yourself engaged in your daily activities. And again, that doesn't just have to be in the physical. Anything mental can kind of work there as well. You just don't want to get into the loop of kind of descending into more and more perhaps apathy or just lower and lower energy. So invest and expend your energy in any way that you can on a daily basis as appropriate. And I think that could really make a huge difference almost no matter what struggle, challenge, or injury you are going through. So with that, thank you so much for watching. A little bit of a different video here, but I wanted to give an update on where I am, with the legs. So I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more. All the best in your training, and we'll see you in the next video.